Hello, guys. I'm Lisa.
And I'm Natasha.
And we were wondering,
are you free for coffee?
Welcome, guys. We have a kind of heavy topic today. As you know, we're in Texas, and this week we had a pretty horrific school shooting that I'm sure you all know about by now. And we just want to talk about it and unpack it a little bit. You know, I have my stats, so let me share a few with you. Of all children aged 0 to 14 killed by guns in developed countries, 87% are U.S. children. 87%. An international comparison of gun-related killings as a percentage of all homicides. Now, this was in 2020. The United States is 79%. 79% of all killings, all homicides, are gun-related in the United States. In Canada, they're 37%.
Wow.
In Australia, they're 13%. In the UK, they're 4%. So let that sink in a little bit.
Oh my gosh.
Tuesday, when the shooting in Uvalde happened, it was the 144th day of 2022. And the Uvalde shooting is the 212th mass shooting of 2022.
At how many days in?
144. So we've had more mass shootings than we have had
days of the year.
Yes.
Days of this year.
Yeah, so far. Now, I think we're coming from the point of we want gun control.
Yes.
We want some kind of gun control legislation.
Yes.
That is where we are coming from.
And I want to say right before you tune out, right before you're like, we like almost everything in our brand, in our podcast, in our friendship. We are alike, and we're also very different. I got my first gun at the age of 4. It was my birthday gift. Ironically, today is my birthday, and my fourth birthday gift was a gun. I have grown up with guns. I've quite literally always owned guns or been in a very close proximity to guns. And so before the assumption is made of like, anti-gun, no, that's not. Hear me very clearly when I say I am not anti-gun, but I want to also be very clear and say that my child, who is set to start school this year, is in no way, shape, or form any match for an AR-15.
Correct.
I am not any match for an AR-15. And even though I come from military heavy is an understatement for my family. It really, I did the math at one point some years ago, and we were 79% military. I mean, that's just how many people in my family are in the military or have served this country. My husband works for the police department. So at least on this side of the coffee pot, it's not that I'm anti-guns, but I believe there has to be regulations because too much of anything is a bad thing. And we have ventured into this territory where you can't buy beer, but you can buy
an assault
weapon.
Yes.
And I mean, I want you to think about this. Like, you can't buy a Zima, for crying out loud. I mean, it probably takes 6 Zimas to get a buzz, for crying out loud. You can't go buy that, but you can buy an assault rifle. And I just want you to think back. Some of us, because of perhaps some of the things that life had thrown at us, we might have been pretty mature at the age of 18. I know I was pretty mature at 18. My husband was not, right? And he'll be the first one to tell
dumb
you.
As a box of rocks.
Well, and I tell
18.
you what, but I still was dumb. Like, life had thrown me some curveballs where I might have known more than I should have at 18, but I still was not playing with a full deck at 18. I don't think I was playing with a full deck at 25.
I remember telling my friend, we were at graduation And now, mind you, I have good kids. I've never been to jailhouse. I've never been to the courthouse. I've got 99 problems with my kids. I've never been one.
Okay.
I have not had those issues. So, but still, when they throw their graduation hats up, and I told my friend, I think their brains are with it. Like they just throw the whole. It's
the
gone.
whole thing went flying.
So 18-year-olds,
they are first and foremost, they are impulsive.
They're ready. I don't feel they're ready. And just as a parent, even the big things in life, is an 18-year-old ready to get married? Probably not. Okay. Most 18-year-olds, you're probably not ready for sex.
They're barely ready for a baby. They're barely ready to drive.
You're kind of not ready to. There's a lot of things you're not ready for. And having an assault weapon, I think, is one of them.
It's certainly one of them.
Yes. I totally agree that. And, the arguments being made about mental illness, and I understand that. But we can't legislate mental illness.
Absolutely not.
And the thing with mental illness, anybody can get it.
Yes.
It's like COVID, really.
Yes.
You can be just as sane one day.
Yes.
And the next, something
happened, some type of
breakdown. And you're just not anymore.
Yes.
And there's no way to predict that. So the only thing that we would have control over is legislation to keep you safe and to keep everybody else safe.
Right.
So that's what we are advocating.
Yes.
Just another stat. Uvalde, Buffalo, Orlando, Parkland, Las Vegas, Aurora, Sandy Hook, Waffle House, San Bernardino, Midland, Odessa, Poway Synagogue, Sutherland Springs, and Tree of Life Synagogue. All those mass shootings, the thing that they have in common, every single shooter used an AR-15. Every single shooter used an AR-15.
It's disturbing.
So what we're saying, if they had a revolver, they still probably would have killed some people, but you wouldn't have killed the as many as you did, because you'd have to reload. I want to be
honest. If you had, I'm thinking of 3 guns that I myself own, and I'm not the fastest, I'm not the slowest at reloading a clip, but I want to tell you, it would have given anyone a fighting chance. There's absolutely no way that I would have been able to quickly kill 19 people. Quickly.
Yes.
Quickly kill 19 people. And I want you all to think about the long-term effects of this, because I spent some time crying yesterday. Yes, on the eve of my birthday, I spent time crying because it's no secret, we've discussed mental health before, and myself, I am a person that as a child, I had anxiety. Just, we didn't know what it was because it's the 80s and the early 90s. But when you have kids that already, for any number of reasons that are valid, they're nervous about school, I want you to think about how some of the greatest minds could have been in that school that day. And even if they lived, they may never view school as a safe place. Imagine the anxiety you would have for perhaps the rest of your life. And when you're thinking the age of these kids, they've got another 50 years to go. That could be another 50 years of anxiety surrounding going into schools, educational establishments, any area that may feel kind of confined or boxed in, post-traumatic stress disorder that these families now have to all go through. This is so much bigger than just the children that we've lost. And I don't think I've ever been shy about being a Christian. It's not anything that I hide, but I just want to say this. If you are a Christian, please spare the entire world any post about praying for these children. The dead do not need your prayers.
Or the guns and Jesus thing.
Yes.
If you got Jesus, I just don't believe you need a gun.
Listen.
No, that's just me.
So I want to say,
if Jesus can't keep you, you can't be kept.
Then you can't be kept. And it is such a hypocritical stance to say, oh, just thoughts and prayers for these families. No, why don't you vote? Let's work on changing some policies, and let's stop playing into this very ignorant, small-minded narrative of all or nothing. People are not saying take away every single gun in the world. No, but do I think 18-year-olds should have access to AR-15s? No, I don't.
I don't believe anybody
I don't
needs
think
access
any untrained person
to
needs
besides
this.
a police officer
Or military,
not
right.
even police officer, a SWAT team police officer, and a military person.
Right.
I just don't feel like you need to have that.
Right.
What are you going to do with it?
Right.
So now that's my opinion. If you don't agree, we can still be friends, but I'm going to put it out there.
Yeah.
And for you,
and you're absolutely
you people,
entitled to that.
Who are gun lovers and hobbyists, let me ask you this, and just think about it. If a shooter came into your kid or grandkid's school, they are not going to ask your political affiliation. Mm-mm. They're not going to ask, do your parents have guns? Mm-hmm. Do they like to shoot guns?
Right. No.
You are still at risk.
Yes.
And that's what we are saying. We have got to minimize the risk for our kids. I'm not talking about you. I understand that you are responsible, that this is just a hobby for you. Absolutely. It's not my jam, but that's what makes us all unique and different. And I respect that. But we have got to compromise enough to keep our kids safe.
Yeah.
And period. And guns overtook car crashes and swimming pools to become the leading cause of death for U.S. children teenagers in 2020.
I did not know that.
Let that sink in.
You know, as
it
someone
overtook. That's the number one.
And I remember when my daughter was born, the water thing, up until this age, the leading cause of death is, so you think about make sure you drain the bathtub and make sure this and make sure that. And when my daughter was born, I worked at Children's Hospital, and, all these cases come in, and wow, something that if we are not careful, we will have little to no control over.
Yeah. So states have done it. There are some states with assault weapon bans. That's California, Connecticut, Hawaii, Maryland, Massachusetts, New Jersey, New York, and Washington, D.C. So there have been states that have been successful in doing that. Minnesota and Virginia regulate assault weapons. They don't ban them, but there is some regulation. So let that, kind of sink in. It was brought before the appellate court in California about the ban, and they have kind of overrode it. So the federal appeals court in California has ruled that the state ban on the sale of semi-automatic firearms to Americans under 21. So that's what California did, is unconstitutional. So it's being litigated now.
Okay.
We're hopeful that they'll be able to overrule that. So the NRA, the National Rifle Association, despite years of financial woes, in January, they filed for bankruptcy because of a fraud case. Mm-hmm. There was some misappropriation of funds, some stuff happened, but they remain the most powerful gun lobby in the U.S. And I would venture to say the most powerful lobby, period.
Oh, absolutely.
So,
and it's concerning because, and again, as someone who former member, have family members that are current members, I want to say that if you are a hobbyist, if you are quote unquote a proud gun owner, part of that pride should have to do with being responsible.
Absolutely.
That should be, and that is where
that's the first thing.
That should be the first thing, and that is where I had to part ways personally. That's my that's my personal experience. That is where I had to part ways, because there was a lack of, a total disregard. Lack is an understatement. There was an absolute disregard for any understanding or literature or conversation surrounding being a responsible gun owner. Somewhere along the way, it just became more about collecting them and having them, and this almost,
and your rights. I'm saying that in quotes.
Yeah, it kind of
to own a gun, to possess a firearm,
to possess it, and almost a cult like. And really,
it's a culture.
It is.
It's gun culture. Yes, is very real.
It is, and you have to be very careful, because you do share a commonality with someone, but your level of empathy, your level of caring, your level of anything surrounding safety or a desire to love thy neighbor, it can get so swept, it can get washed away by this culture. You get caught up. Yes. And this isn't, we always say this, we don't want to attack anyone. I'm going to be honest. If I sound high strung, it is because I spent yesterday crying about my daughter going to school.
If you have kids or grandkids, I don't know how you can not feel touched,
feel concerned.
By this.
Yeah.
And the thing is, human nature, if it hasn't happened to you or someone you love, you're kind of, that's over there.
Right.
But I want you to know
you're not that far, baby.
This could happen to anyone. And because that's human nature, sometimes I wonder what it would take. Is it going to take somebody
people
in a higher up NRA position for that to happen to them or their child before you get it?
Right.
Before you get that this is
and it's like thing. I'm sorry, but that's too many child-sized caskets for me.
Yes, me too.
And even let me think. I'm trying to keep my day straight. I believe that it was yesterday. There were 2 more gun-related issues in Texas.
At schools.
Fort Worth, Texas, where Lisa has family there. Lisa has loved ones there. Some of my shop, some of the finds that you'll see on our page and on our website, I drive to Fort Worth to go to those places. There was an issue there. I don't know the type of gun for Fort Worth.
I don't know the type. Either.
I don't recall.
It was a student at a junior high school.
Yes, at a middle school, a junior high school.
In possession of a firearm. I don't know what kind of firearm.
Literally, one of our pretty well-liked posts, if this creates any proximity for listeners, was taken at a Target in Richardson. Well, that Target is right across from the school.
Where yesterday
in Richardson, Texas,
there was
another student, and that one was AR-15.
So that is one of the issues that people are wanting to put up in terms of gun control, is them being safely locked away.
Yeah.
Anyone other than the owner can't get to them.
Well, and even, I'm going to step outside of that, and I'm going to tell you what kept me in check at 18, at that nice young age of being an 18-year-old gun owner, right? Because looking back, I owned 2 guns at 18. I don't think my kids will, because I don't think I was smart enough to own them, to be really honest with you. But there's something about punishment. When you know, if I do this, the consequence is blank. There is a deterrent there where you're like, I don't think I'm going to do this. The fact that the very next day, there are 2 other people wanting to mimic what just happened only a day ago. I mean, you can't get on anywhere where you're not looking at little kids' faces. You all probably heard me reference this before, but I don't ever really say in law. I always say in love. My sister-in-law is a teacher in Grand Prairie ISD, and she said it was one of her hardest days, and she's been teaching at least 10 years now. She said it was one of her hardest days ever. The kids wanted to know if they were in trouble. They wanted to know why the police were there. They were visibly nervous. They didn't want to go to the bathroom without her. So they had to do like group bathroom trips. She's an elementary school teacher, same age as these kids. Okay. She's a first grade teacher. These kids were terrified, not because they even knew what happened, but they were it was the nervous energy of like, why are all these grownups here? And
why
are
their parents upset?
Right.
Because parents are upset.
Yeah. Why are these police walking by the door? And my thing is, you cannot legislate mental illness. Hear me. I understand that. Okay. But this is the thing. A lot of people who copycat these horrific crimes, they are not mentally ill. They're young and they're impressionable and they have access and they're impulsive. That is that's the most dangerous recipe. You know, there's a reason why most of us don't come into any money till we're older, because you don't need that kind of money at 18. There's no telling. I would have owned a fucking tiger for no reason. Just I saved him from the zoo. You know, I mean, you don't need access to everything at 16, 17, 18, 19, even 20. You do not need the access. And there's
some grown folks with some issues that don't need
access either.
Which that's another point that they, in the gun control lobby, they're wanting like a database and red flagging.
Yes.
So that when kids or people are doing inappropriate things on Facebook and TikTok and whatever, those things are flagged.
Yeah.
When
that
someone has
save
had
lives.
Yes, when someone has had a mental breakdown or issue and had help or been in an institution, that is flagged.
Yes.
So that when you go to buy a gun, those flags pop up and they won't sell a gun to you.
Right.
And that's a good thing.
Right.
That is a good thing. We cannot legislate mental health. We cannot legislate people liking us or not being racist.
Yes.
But does a racist or a white supremacist, violent white supremacist, or someone with mental illness need a gun? No.
Right.
Neither one of them need a gun. Now,
I think we all
be racist, be mentally ill, but you're going to do it without a gun.
Right. I want to take this portion away for the safety of others.
Yes. And your own safety.
And your own safety.
And their own safety.
Yes.
You know, because we talked about the suicide issue.
Yes.
A couple episodes ago. There you go. That's another one.
That's a very valid.
Now, you know that we have the knowledge, the capability of, just like a smartphone opens with your thumbprint, they can do that with guns, where it will not unlock without the owner's thumbprint, which would keep you safe from an intruder.
Yes.
It would keep you safe from your kids.
Weren't you and I talking about this? This was not a recorded conversation, guys. It wasn't a podcast episode, but we were talking. When I was growing up, I was always taught by both my parents, if there's an intruder, you don't pull out a gun unless you're ready to shoot right then. You don't pull it out because you're going to shoot in a minute or because you hope it scares them. If you pull it out, you shoot, because if you don't, statistically, they're going to use that gun against you.
And the greater percentage is that's what happens.
That is what happens
versus
the mass majority of the time.
Shooting the intruder.
Yes.
So that would keep everybody safe. Now, the NRA was not having that. I don't know why. That is just common sense. Why wouldn't you want that? If you want your freaking phone
wouldn't you
locked,
love your vehicle not to work unless it was you, so it couldn't get stolen? Wouldn't you want your phone to not work? You don't want anyone to pick up your phone and get into it. Yeah.
So that's the thing. So there's a number of states, and we live in Texas, as y'all know, so we are one of them, that have gone as far as to largely eliminate restrictions on who can carry a gun. In June 2021, Texas Governor Greg Abbott signed into law a permitless carry bill that allows residents to carry handguns without a license or training.
Yes.
Wrong. That is just wrong. If you need training and a license to drive a car, I think you need one for a firearm.
You know, when you go... And I'm laughing because sometimes I'm at a loss for how moronic some of this stuff is. If you go to a little axe throwing, you know, they do those group things where it's like the axe throwing places. You have to go through a little training. They don't just pass you an axe and say, okay, get to flinging it, because someone would end up dead. Like, almost everything you do, there's some element of training. There's some level of training. And it is beyond me how we live in an area where someone can be carrying around something that with one touch could kill someone else. Just one touch, that's it. And it's
or
like
themselves.
Or themselves. But I mean,
Could actually
but
go
this
off
is the
and
thing.
shoot
If
themselves.
you kill yourself, then that's on. If that's
I know,
the case,
I know, but I'm just saying
but
it's that dangerous.
It is that dangerous,
you know.
right? And it's just like, yeah, training. No, who needs it?
But we wouldn't dream of that with a car.
No.
You've got to. And then not only do you need the training, they take you in the car to make sure you got the training.
Listen, and then you have to renew it.
Yes.
It just hit me. My license is going to be expired tomorrow. I have been driving now, my God, for 20 plus years. Holy cow. That just math kind of caught me off guard there. But I've been driving now legally for 20 years.
With a license.
I got my permit at 15.
And you have to keep it up.
And guess what? That bad boy is expired tomorrow because it's past your birthday, one day past, it's expired. And there are rules to that. I have to keep that up. I have to maintain it. You answer, has your vision changed? We just did my husband's. Have there been any changes with mobility, your vision, your hearing? I'm sorry, but there are so many things that many of us do not realize are tracked, but they are. It's called SEO. It's the reason why you say, oh, one day I'm going to get a pool at my house. And then on your phone, every time you open it, there's something about a pool. Honey, none of us are, none of us can escape that. Okay. And it would be too easy, to be honest, to create a database. It would simply be too easy. And
they do it for everything
else. Do it for everything else. What do you think your Kroger rewards card is? What do you think that is? What do you think that when you go to Target and you have them scan the Target app? Now, listen, I'm not down in either one of those, baby. I get my fuel points and I use my Target card, but we are all tracked to some extent. And there is this lie, this illusion of, well, if you're tracking people and stopping them from buying guns, you're impeding on their freedom. No, you are promoting the safety of other people around you.
Of the greater community.
And if you, again, and listen, if you're a non-Christian, we're still friends. I love you. I actually get it. But if you're a Christian and love thy neighbor is beneath own thy guns, you really need to assess where you are.
Agreed.
You really need to do some thinking and assess where you are, because I'm here to tell you, if you are shot point blank by an AR-15, these people cannot even look upon their child again. They cannot. And
they had to use DNA to
determine,
to identify them.
Which kids, and if you're wondering why it was trickling out, that is what they were doing, was trickling. They had to use DNA. That means that these people could not look at their own baby and say, that's my child. And if that doesn't bother you, then there's something very, very, very wrong with that picture.
Yeah. So we want to leave you with some tips to take action. So there's a few organizations that you can join. You can join them online. You can support them financially, volunteer with them. They have tips on what to do and how you can help. One is Mom's Demand, which I love that. So that's kind of like
Mothers Against Drunk Driving.
Yes, you think about, so moms grouping together to get gun control. I love that. There is Students Demand, which is students, they're being affected. So they have a action group. Every Town is another grassroots nonprofit that can help you. There's a Sandy Hook Promise, which those are some of the parents and people that were affected by the Sandy Hook tragedy. They have a nonprofit that you can go to. Brady Campaign to Prevent Gun Violence. And you remember James Brady was, when the attempted assassination of Ronald Reagan, he was one of his aides that was shot. And he was shot in the head. So he has all kinds of issues from that. So after that, his wife and him, they started this thing. So those are some places that you can go and get information. You can support them. You can donate to them, volunteer, check them out. Another set of actions you can take, I kind of liken it to the biblical parable about the woman and the unjust judge. She just wore him down, just stayed on it. So if you feel strongly about this, like we do, what you can do, you can call the Capitol switchboard, which is 202-224-3121. You ask for your representative. Mm-hmm. They will put you through, and it's just you leave a message. You're not going to talk to anybody.
And that's fine.
That's fine. But you can tell them how you feel.
Yes.
Tell them, about how you feel about the NRA, which, just FYI, Ted Cruz got an A+ rating with the NRA. So now this is my opinion. If that's what you want to do, just quit being a senator and go work for them.
Because you're not working for the people.
You're not working for us. You're working for the NRA, a lot of them. So that's my thought. Now, that and $5 will get you something from Starbucks. So it doesn't mean anything, but that's just my opinion. Yeah. So these are the actions. If you have a Republican senator, which we do in Texas, we have Ted Cruz and we have John Cornyn, call them to ask them to support the Background Check Expansion Act. Now that's what we were talking about, where they will do the background checks, make sure everything's clean, or
there's no red
not
flags.
Mental
there's
illness.
No flags,
yes. Number 2, if your senator is Kristen Sinema or Joe Manchin, call them to request a filibuster exception for gun sales. They're against the filibuster, but in this case, they could do that and get this passed. Number 3, if your senator is Chuck Schumer, call him and tell him to put the Background Check Expansion Act on the floor for a vote now. While the emotions are high, maybe we can get this through. Number 4, if your senator is a Democrat not listed, or I'm reading from a thing. So if you've got a Democrat, call them and thank them for supporting common sense gun control. And that's all we want, y'all. Like Natasha said, we don't want to take everybody's guns. No. We're not saying just ban everything, turn them in. We're not saying that. We just want common sense gun laws. We don't want guns to be in the wrong hands.
Yes.
We have an opportunity to do right by our children.
Right.
And to keep them safe. There is no way that any child should be fearful of going to school and getting shot.
Yeah.
Nobody.
I'm sorry, but if you're listening to us, if you can hear our voices, someone did it for you.
Yes. We didn't have to worry about that. We didn't make it We weren't doing active shooter drills. But your kids and grandkids are.
Yes.
So.
And it's terrifying to them.
Just think about it. Pray about it to whatever God you pray to. And really do some soul searching on what you can do to help.
Yeah.
And if you have to compromise for the greater good, is that a bad thing?
Right. Yeah.
Is that a bad thing?
No,
I
not
don't
at
think
all.
so. To keep our kids safe, I don't think so.
Yeah.
So
that would be our question for you. Trying so hard not to cry. We're not going to do Sexiest Man Alive this week. It seems it is the lightest part of some of our episodes, but it seems so inappropriate. This isn't a time, it's just not the right time for it. And it's not even in my heart at all to be able to come up with it, to be honest. So we thank you for pulling up a chair and joining us for coffee. We do hope that you subscribe to Are You Free for Coffee podcast, wherever you're listening. We hope that you enjoyed today's episode. We hope that you act on some of the information that has been given to you and that you can find joy in the little things. Until next time.